In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, it's all about project management. Hello and welcome to episode 140 of my Working with Todoist series. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I decided that I'm going to show you how I manage a project from the beginning right through to the end by taking the project I used for last year's book that I published, Your Digital Life 2.0, and showing you how I structured the project throughout the year, because a book project for me is a 1 year project. But what I realized is there's a lot of surprising things in there that maybe you didn't realize. And this actually has come about because quite a few people have emailed me their project lists and shown me how they organize their projects with sub-projects and all the various other things that you can do within Todoist. But what I'm finding is people are overcomplicating it and putting way too many tasks into their Todoist. And a lot of the tasks really are not really that necessary. And what I want to do is to show you how I structure a typical project, and a big project, should I say, for a book, which is to me a very big project. It's also a long-term project because it takes roughly about 1 year to do. And I want to show you how I structured the project so that you have a pretty good idea, and hopefully you get some ideas of how you can structure your own projects. Now, before we go any further, I would just like to say, if you like this episode, please click on the like button below, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe. Okay, let's get into Todoist and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so in January last year, this is how the project looked. Basically, there was one task: continue writing Your Digital Life 2.0. And then there was 3 what I call subtasks: things to add, editing, and marketing. In the things to add, editing, and marketing in January last year, there was absolutely no tasks in there whatsoever, because the only thing that really mattered was writing the script for the book. And this is the same for you. When you are writing or doing any kind of project, there is one major part of the project that needs to be done first. Before anything else can be done, you need that one major task that gets all the work done. And that's, in this case for me, for 6 months, pretty much this is the only task that was in Your Digital Life 2.0 project, because that was the only task that actually mattered. I wasn't dumping my ideas in there except for one thing, which moves me on to the next one, which is things to add. Now, my things to add was where I would write a task that actually needed doing. So in this case, I've got 2 examples in here: write a Todoist setup chapter for Your Digital Life 2.0 and write an Evernote setup guide for Your Digital Life 2.0. Those were things that were specific tasks. They weren't ideas. Ideas were left in my Evernote Note. Now, what you'll notice up here is I have a direct link to my Evernote Note. Now, unfortunately, the original note has disappeared. I archived it at the end of the year, but I set up a sample one here, and one of these were the notes that I had in here. And this is just something that, as and when I was coming up with ideas to add into the book, they would be dumped in Evernote, because ideas is where Evernote is its strongest, not Todoist. Todoist is strongest for tasks, things that you must do. Evernote is for ideas. So what I was doing was, in the morning when I sat down to write Your Digital Life 2.0 from this task, what I would do is I would quickly click on that to look at my notes to get the whatever it is I wanted to write for that day. The other thing I should point out is this had the recurring task every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it was labeled computer and iPad. Now, I write my books in Scrivener, and I can use Scrivener on my computer or my iPad. So that was always there with those labels. Everything else, no date, no label, because I don't want them showing up in any of my views, because that's the main task. The thing that's going to get this project completed at this stage is to get that script written. Okay, so let's say now we're going to move on to August, or I think it was September when I finished the draft of the Your Digital Life 2.0. This one then gets checked off. I would actually remove... You can do two things here, and it's up to you. I actually archived it because I knew I wasn't going to be writing anymore. So I would archive that particular project. You just archive down here, click on Archive Task, it's gone. Things to add would have been done in that draft, so most of these would have been checked off. And what I would do then is I moved up my editing part to the top because that's the most important thing. Now in here I have a top task of continue editing Your Digital Life 2.0. Again, this would have the label at the date every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Again, it's labeled computer and iPad because those are the tools I need to be able to do the editing. And in here is where I was dumping the tasks that needed doing, because these are the things that I highlighted as I was reviewing the book, reading through the book. So here, review chapter 2, A Day in the Life of Me is the chapter. I just wanted to check that all the details were accurate. So I dumped that into my inbox and then just dragged it into the editing file. As I went through, these were all checked off, done, 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 done. And in this case, this was done as well, done, and that's it. We've got everything done within that project. Editing can then be closed, and then I can move on to the marketing. Now, the marketing was an interesting one because that's just ideas that came up throughout the year. So that was all done in Evernote, and the best ideas I pulled out, and I added them as tasks in my Todoist. So I've got select 10 people to send free copies of Your Digital Life 2.0 tour and choose 5 Your Digital Life excerpts for promotion of my blog, which I did. Now the interesting one here is without a book cover, I couldn't do any promotional activities through my social media channels. So the first thing I needed to do was to design the book cover. I did that. And then I created a child task. I've actually completed it here. But then I created a child task here. Create images for Facebook, Twitter, and website. The reason being is there's nothing I could do until the design of the book cover was done. That had to happen first. Create images for Facebook, Twitter, and website. That was dependent on having the book cover done first. Hence the reason why that is a child task. So although when I'm looking at the project after writing the book on everything else that I did, I can see the arrow there telling me there is a dependent task involved. I can click on that and it will tell me what I need to do. Just one thing I should point out, if you clear off that first task, the child task is automatically completed. Just keep that one in mind. You may not want to do that, but for me it's not a big problem because I see the arrow which tells me there is a dependent task. So once I did design the book cover, then I clicked on the arrow and it told me what I needed to do next. And that is how I set up the project. It wasn't full of ideas, tasks, names of people or anything like that. I kept it really clean throughout the whole year so that it is absolutely clear what needs to happen next. And that's what you need to be doing on any kind of project that you have set up with your Todoist. Make it absolutely clear what needs to happen next. Ideas, things that you want to do, keep them in your notes application. That's where you keep those things. It's not about keeping things in your Todoist, because when you do that, it very quickly fills up with lots of rubbish, and you spend most of your time trying to figure out what is a task, what is a note. Oh, it's just a mess. Keep it clean. That's the best advice I can give you for long, complex projects. So there you go. Hopefully that's given you a really good idea of how to set up your projects. Keep them clean, keep it simple, focus in on only the tasks. Everything else, put them in your note-taking application. Thank you very much for watching this episode. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comment section below. And it just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week.